Kickstart. Screen share. Yeah. Okay, let me start sharing my screen. Guys, can someone confirm if you could see my notepad here? Yes, so we can able to see was. Yeah. Thank you, thanks for. Guys, thanks for responding. Yes. So I've also started my sharing my screen. Guys, thanks for joining the session today as well, on time. And we will try to resume from where we have left yesterday. So guys, for those who might not have joined us yesterday, so we had very high level understanding on what we are going to cover, and then some of very basic topics is what we have discussed yesterday. Right, the actual discussions are going to start from today. Right. So as a part of the syllabus that we are going to cover, the first topic I would like to take up is some of the concepts of the cloud. Right, some of the concepts of the cloud, right? So that's something I would like to start with. But before I go ahead, but of course, yesterday, because of the time that we get, I could not be able to go by all the questions that you have raised. But guys, today I'll try to allocate some more time than yesterday. And then, I'll try to cover if there are any questions, basically, right? But guys, if you have any questions, please keep a note of them. I would love to take all of the questions and then answer them accordingly. Right. So guys, what we'll start with. Right. So guys, let's make the session interactive. Right. So yesterday, was the day number 1. So maybe and also I didn't have much of the scope to make the session much interactive. But guys, generally I would like to have the session pretty much interactive. So in the sense, maybe I might raise some questions and then you can try to answer it either by using the chat window, right? It's not necessary that you have to unmute your mic or so. So you can make use of the chat window just to answer simple questions, right? So that we'll have some kind of communication and collaboration also at the same time, right? So guys, tell me, maybe as per your knowledge, what are the other cloud computing? Sorry, there is some issue with my keyboard. Cloud computing services, not services, maybe platforms that other than Microsoft Azure. Guys, please use your chat window and then can you post some of the competitors of Microsoft Azure otherwise? Yes, I can see someone started replying saying that AWS, Google, yes. Yes, guys, yes. And anything else? Yes. Amazon, Google. Come on, guys, you can use chat window. See, that's fine. Your answers can be wrong, right? But still, I wanted to have some collaboration here. Perfect. So let me keep a note, make a note of it as in when you are typing in. So I could see people responding. So Microsoft Azure and AWS as Google, GCP, and IBM. Yes, of course, that's okay. Oracle, right? And SAP, yes. Someone is saying SAP. Yes, perfect, guys. Yes, please go ahead. Any other thoughts? Guys, please don't Google. Okay. Guys, I can see some of you were, sending me message directly, right? Maybe don't try to have a direct message since anyway, see, there is no privacy. I mean, there is nothing secret here. Try to send it to everyone in the meeting so that others also will know that you are contributing some answers, right? But anyways, guys, right? So We all know Microsoft Azure, right? This is something we have discussed yesterday, right? And Azure, of course, Azure is from Microsoft, right? So similarly, like Microsoft Azure, we also have something called Amazon Web Services, AWS, or we can simply call it as Amazon Cloud, right? And we also have Google Cloud Platform. People also call it as Google Cloud or Google Cloud Platform as well, right? And also we have IBM Cloud, right? So let me put it this way, IBM Cloud. I know IBM doesn't, make some sense. And AWS Cloud, right? And as well, yes, now let me ask you, what are the three top cloud computing service platforms or cloud computing platforms that you could think those are leading the market? Out of this highlighted section of the platforms, which three takes the top three positions? Right, perfect. AWS, GCP, and then Azure, right? So you are correct. Perfect. 1 second, guys. So there is a person who's asking for that. I'm sorry, that. Right. So the top three places goes to Microsoft Azure, Amazon, and then Google. And can anyone guess which cloud computing platform are in fourth and fifth place? Of course, fourth and fifth place, I would say those platforms were not being noted here, were not here. You know what? Anyway, I don't take much of your time. So the fourth place goes to Alibaba. Yeah, someone have said don't know. That's good. Alibaba and then Tencent. Right? We all know, right? Alibaba and Tencent are from China. The first three cloud computing platforms are from United States. And so fourth and fifth place goes to Alibaba and Tencent. So then you might ask me saying that on what basis you are saying these are leading the market? Guys, this is with respect to the market share, right? With respect to the market share on the cloud computing basically, right? So that's how it goes by basically. Anyway, thank you guys. Thanks, for everyone who have contributed, your answers. Yes. And of course, see, like IBM, Oracle, SAP, they have lost the market, to be very precise, right? But I'll give you some, brief and little more detailed information on the other platforms also as and when we progress. But anyway, it is day number 2. I don't want to make our, day number 2 too heavy on the content, basically, right? So let me move on to the next topic, basically, right? So let's talk about some of the services, right? So I would say Azure services, right? Services that will be provided by Azure also at the same time, right? So let me bring up a slide for you so that I will discuss about the services that Azure provides. Not only Azure, even other cloud platforms also will provide. Just let me find that particular. Yeah, it is there. Yes. Let me pull up that particular pick for you. It is loading, guys. Yeah, I don't know. Now let me talk about this, right? See, guys, on the screen, we have 4 columns. Of course, there is a pic. Guys, again, I got it from the internet. And this is a very good example to help you understand the services that each cloud computing platform provides for the public. For the public means like you and me, basically, right? See here. So it have 4 columns. The first one is on-premise and infrastructure as a service. Guys, infrastructure as a service is also called as IaaS, and then platform as a service. Of course, in short, we call it as PaaS, and then software as a service, and we call it as SaaS, right? So now let's talk about on-premise, right? So yesterday we had spent very good time in understanding on-premise. right? Let me also help you understand on-premise in a different perspective altogether, right? See guys, this particular picture you have to start understanding from bottom to top, not top to bottom, bottom to top. Okay, see here, networking, storage, servers, virtualization, operating system, middleware, runtime, data, and applications. Let's say if you or your organization is maintaining these many tasks or the components, then it is considered as on-premise, right? If you or your organization manages all of these components, then we can simply consider it as on-premise. So the best example, a server that is running at my company premises. Let's say if you have a web application, or let's say if you have a ETL that is running on your local machine, let's say if you have to deploy, so where we typically will deploy, we'll deploy it on a server, right? A common server that will be located somewhere on our organization premises. So that can be in India, or that can be overseas also at the same time, right? So based on the head office of that particular organization, maybe the servers, typically located. But if you ask me saying that, so guys, in my project, see, I mostly work for the projects which are in United States, right? Our servers are mostly located at Seattle, right? Seattle, which is Minneapolis, basically. And right, of course, it is distributed. The business is distributed in across, US. But at least, the projects which I handle, the servers are located in Minneapolis, right? So whatever, typically I deploy to the servers which are located in Minneapolis. Well, because that's where, typically my project business runs. Right? Nothing in my hands. I cannot go and say, boss, no, I don't like Minneapolis. Let's have the data in somewhere in, India or some other location. No, right? I have to work in according to the business requirement. Right? So that's all. The servers, where I deploy my work will is typically maintained by our organization itself. So what do I mean by maintaining by my organization? See this as an example, right? So what OS I have to install to make my projects run seamlessly on the servers, right? That will be decided by my organization, right? So how networking should happen between different systems? See, I am deploying my code to the server. So that means I should have some network interface, network connectivity with the server that is located in Minneapolis, right? So maybe 1,000 miles away from the place where I sit, right? So there should be some network communication that needs to happen, and again that will be taken care by my organization. So similarly, storage, right? So I am deploying something to the server. That means there should be some space that should be available for my work to get deployed, right? Again, that space considerations or storage considerations will be taken care by IT team who are sitting in our organization, right? So similarly, all these components will be and should be taken care by my organization or our colleagues who are working in the same organization, right? The responsibility lies with us. So that's on-premise, guys. So let's move on to the next point. The next column, infrastructure as a service, right, guys? See, the next three are something that will be available on any cloud computing platform. May not be any, but most of the cloud computing platforms, at least the top five that we have discussed, say Microsoft Azure, or say Amazon, or say Google, Alibaba, Tencent, you will file these services on any of the cloud computing service provider, right? See, let's talk about infrastructure as a service. What is that? Again, let's start understanding from the bottom, right? So like networking, storage, servers, and virtualization. See guys, here it is interesting basically, right? See, the below four components will be maintained by others. In this case, see here, other managers. So what does this mean? In this particular case, it will be maintained by Microsoft Azure. Since we are going to travel on Azure, I've just used the term Azure, right? Let's say if you're on let's say Alibaba, then it will be maintained by Alibaba in that particular case, right? And operating system, middleware, runtime, data, and applications will be maintained by us. That means you or your organization will take the responsibility of these components, right? But typically, as a developer, if you ask me, data engineer, no, typically I don't care about them. There is a separate IT team who take care about them. right? But again, I'll just come back, right? See here. So now networking, storage, servers, and
Sorry to interrupt. What is virtualization means?
see, virtualization is, a kind of, maybe I would say kind of communication as well, right? So that happens between your system to the server, right? And, see, that's something which will be taken care by the IT team itself, right? It will be taken care by IT team itself, right? So it is
Okay.
like communication between different operating systems. See, I may be using Windows 11, but the server which I deploy my code may be using some Windows server, right? So both are running on different operating systems. Those though they are from Microsoft, but the operating system is completely different, right? Or that can be on Linux, right? So there should be some communication that needs to happen between Linux versus Windows, right? Typically, we don't, care about them as a data engineer, right? We don't even, get into that discussions, right? So that's infrastructure as a service. Now the, important point for you is what is the best example of infrastructure as a service? See, guys, virtual machines, VMs. I'm not sure if anyone have come across this. I think most of you must come across. Virtual machines are the best example for infrastructure as a service. So yes, in simple terms, what is a virtual machine, right? It's a physical machine that can be accessed by us, but it can be located somewhere away from our premises. Example. Uh, Let me give you a very simple example. See, my laptop that you are currently seeing runs on 8 gigabytes of RAM, and my hardware is limited to 8 GB, basically. I cannot even expand that to 16 GB or 32 GB. Let's say, for example, for next 1 week, I need a laptop of 64 GB in hardware to do some heavy data lifting, right? Or to perform data engineering on very high volumes of data. Say as an example, basically. So now for 1 week, I cannot go and purchase a brand new laptop, right? It doesn't, make sense. And also it will be very costly, right? 64 GB RAM and then latest, configuration. If I have to purchase, of course, it will be a little costly. So what is the alternative that I have? I can hire a machine, right? I can hire a machine for some point of time, and then I can choose the hardware that I wanted to have, and then I can utilize that machine for that particular time period. Right? In this case, that particular machine will not be located with me. I cannot carry it. Right? It will be located somewhere else, but I can access it by sitting at my home. Right? A machine that can be accessed virtually. Right? So that's virtual machine for us. So yes, there are many companies in the market, where we can go and get into a contract or rent it for some time period, and then we can we can give them back once the time period is completed. Of course, we can also extend. That's a different story, right? So virtual machines are best example for infrastructure. So see, guys, in virtual machines, we can decide what operating system we wanted to have. Say if you wanted Windows flavor or Linux flavor or Red Hat or Ubuntu, right? CentOS, right? So guys, Azure supports multiple different operating systems for infrastructure as a service. I'm talking, right? So that's how we can understand infrastructure as a service, right? And platform as a service, right? Again, let me remove these drawings because it's too many. Maybe you guys will confuse. So here VM is the best example for infrastructure as a service. So now let's talk about platform as a service. Again, from bottom to top. So networking, storage, virtualization, operating system runtime will be taken care by Microsoft Azure in this case. But data and applications will be decided by us. Before I get into further discussion about this, the best example for platform as a service is our ADF, Azure Data Factory. We discussed about ADF, pretty much yesterday, right? What is ADF, guys? It's a cloud-based ETL service, right? ADF falls under PaaS, platform as a service. See, not see. That's one example I've given. It is not only limited to one single service. Like even Databricks also falls under platform as a service, and there are many more. Right here in this particular platform as a service, we make the decisions on the data, the way you wanted to store the data, and the application you wanted to run. Maybe ADF is one application, or can be Databricks, or can be storage account, and then so on. Right, so we can choose the service we wanted to have, but typically that is categorized as platform as a service. Right? So that's how we have to understand it. Right, and the last one in the list, software as a service. So again, from the bottom, networking, storage, servers, virtualization, operating system, middleware, runtime, data, and applications will be taken care by Microsoft Azure. It's a completely taken care by Microsoft. Then you might ask me, what is that we are going to do? Yes, so what we'll do, right? Everything is taken care by Microsoft in this case. See, guys, it is just that we will consume their service. Example, your Gmail, right? Your Insta, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, right? These are all software as a service. See, take Gmail as an example. See, what is that you do? You simply hit the URL, create the account, send the email, receive the email, maybe reply it, delete it, archive it. Very limited functionality that you do in Gmail, right? Take Instagram or take Facebook or take LinkedIn, right? So you can send a post, reply, like, don't like, right? So very limited, activities. Of course, even there we can do. But the point here is, have you ever wondered how networking is happening? See, you are trying to hit your account using your phone, but how communication is happening? Have you ever wondered? No. In which server Insta is running? Where your data is stored? So have you ever wondered where your Gmail data is getting stored? No, right? We don't care about it. On what operating system Gmail is running? Is Gmail running on a Windows flavor, or it is Red Hat or Ubuntu or Linux or any flavor of Linux? We never know. How the data is getting saved while data is getting exchanged between two email addresses? We don't care. On what programming language or on what application Gmail is running? Right? We don't care. Right? All we care is keeping our password safe. Right? And then log in and then receive the email, send the email. That is all. Right? So similarly for LinkedIn, Insta, and then so on. Of course, there are many applications as such, but let's not complicate our discussion. Right? So I would say, just to simplify, Gmail. Gmail is our software as a service. One second. Yeah. Right? So that's how, those are the kind of services Microsoft Azure supports. So that's why, I named it as, Azure services basically. But generally, you will find these services across in all the cloud computing platforms that we have discussed some time back. Right? So that's how the services are being categorized, guys. Right. Okay. Guys, I'll take the questions in the last. Like I've said, please, make a note of them if you, come across any. Right. And, let me move to the next concept. It is, of course, now we have discussed, right? So on-premise, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, right? So those are the, actually, those are the, three different services typically Azure, provides basically, or cloud services, right? So not only Azure, because other cloud computing platforms also provide. So let me call it as cloud services than Azure. Right. So let's go to the next one, which is nothing but service models. Again, this is common to any cloud computing platforms. So there are three different service models: public, private, hybrid, right? Let me put it this way: public, private, and hybrid, right? Guys, yesterday we have discussed about Microsoft Azure, right? So what is Microsoft Azure? It is a public cloud computing platform. So what do we mean by public cloud computing platform? That means people like you and me can go ahead and then create the account and then start using the services, right? So that's something we have learned yesterday. Then what is private and hybrid? That case, right? Because Microsoft Azure is a public cloud computing platform. So then what is private and hybrid? See, guys, let me help you understand little, detail about that particular, cloud computing basically. So let's take, Azure as an example. Azure have public service model and then private service model and then hybrid. But of course, it's there in almost in all the cloud computing platforms also. But mostly we will see, public only, than private and hybrid, right? Let's talk about it. See guys, uh, so let's say if we create a service, say a Azure SQL database, right? So let's take, Azure SQL Server DB, right? So when I say Azure SQL Server DB, or when I create it and then, try to store some data in a table, see, though it is on the cloud, but it have to store somewhere physically. And it have to store somewhere physically, that's for sure, basically, right? And that place is called as data center, right? Our data will typically store in a data center, right? So a data center will typically have racks, right? So typically will have multiple racks and then so on. So let me show you a image, quickly. Um, so let me go to an image. Yeah, so of course there is an image. Yeah, so let me enlarge this basically. Right. See here, this is how a data center looks from inside basically, right? If you see, I mean, any of the images, more or less, the looks will be the same inside basically, right, guys? But I'll talk about these data centers when we get onto the storage account. This is very interesting and very nice topic to go by. But anyway, now I will restrict to the discussions of public, private, and cloud, right? Service models, right? So anyways, right? So a data center might look like this from inside, right? So it have multiple racks and then, and it have, storages in each and every rack, basically, right? So now in the public cloud computing platform, you know what? Let's take a storage. Of course, if you consider the column as a rack and then each and every line of it, as a storage, right? So let's say if I create an account, my data might get come and stored in this particular location. Let me take my pen. Yeah. My data might come and store in this particular storage, right? And let's say if one of you also creates an account and select the same region, there are chances your data also might come and store in the same storage. And it might be applicable to the other person also at the same time. But guys, though our data is going to be saved in the same disk or in the same storage, you cannot see my data and I cannot see your data. It will not be shared. And it will not be shared for sure, basically. Of course, there are multiple different security layers that Azure runs for every millisecond, right? In the public, yes, in the public, there are chances the same storage will be shared between multiple different accounts or multiple different users. You cannot restrict it. You cannot go and tell to Microsoft, boss, I'm on public cloud computing platform. Don't save other persons work in my storage. You cannot. You don't have control. You don't have control in the public service model. Right? So likewise, maybe if you take any other storage, yes, multiple users or multiple accounts information will be saved under the particular storage within the same rack. Right? So that's public for us, guys. Now let's talk about private. Right? Private have two categories. Two categories. So one category is in such a way you can go and reserve the complete rack if you wanted to have. See, again, that's based on the project. Let's say if your project have some budget, and let's say if your project will be having some sensitive information where your client cannot take even 0.1% of the risk by making others work also store in the same rack. Right? So there are some clients who spends $1 million for their privacy and security. Right? So that case, for those clients, right, Microsoft or other cloud computing service providers also will provide the service model called private. That means they can hide the complete rack. Even though you are storing 1 GB of data or 10 petabytes of data, the track will be allocated for our project. That means maybe other companies or other, accounts information will not get saved here. And that's the kind of approach they follow. That's private category number one. Right. So let me, go back, guys, to our, sheet notes, of course. So that's category number one under private. Of course, let me make it this way. So one, right? So complete rack can be reserved. Number two is like you can have Microsoft Azure come to your organization premises and then they will install a data center within your organization. I repeat, you can have Microsoft Azure come to your organization and install the data center in your organization premises. So what is the benefit from here? Let's say if you have a project, with which need utmost privacy. So in that case, yes, you can go by this particular category under private or your organization. Of course, it will be very expensive, guys, at the same time because Microsoft have to install the data center in your particular organization and Microsoft Azure will maintain that. It is just that our organization have to reserve some space for them and then give some electricity and then internet bandwidth. That's our responsibility, but the maintenance of it will be taken care by them. Okay, so that's category number two under private. Of course, it will be very expensive, basically, right? So I have not come across any project that is running under that particular category. Let's see, world is very big, right? So as per my experience, no, I have not seen anything as such. But rack I have seen in one of our earlier project, one of the client, they are very rich, so they have reserved a rack. That I know basically. Right. And one more point, guys, when I'm talking about the privacy and maintenance here, basically, so in category number two, the complete data center which is installed on our company premises will be maintained and taken care by Microsoft, right? So see here, let me go back to this particular slide again. See here, when I say this networking, storage, servers, blah, 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 until runtime is taken care by Microsoft Azure in this case. See guys, one point I would like to highlight here is, see, from networking to runtime will be strictly maintained by Microsoft Azure. Strictly. What do I mean by strictly? You maybe in later point of time, you cannot go and tell to Microsoft boss, starting from today, I'll take care of operating system. No, they won't allow you. They won't allow you because you have selected a service it in such a way or another impression. Networking from networking till runtime will be maintained by a Microsoft Azure. That means you are getting into a contract even before you start working on the project. See, there will be a small checkbox we'll check now. I agree all terms and conditions. We simply will check that box. We typically don't go by and then read those thousand pages of terms and conditions. Nobody does that, right? But generally you cannot go back and then say, okay, starting from today for this particular Azure data factory, I'll take care of the operating system. No, absolutely they won't allow you. Or say, I wanted to control the storage or the way my data is getting stored on your servers. No, absolutely no. You have no control. So similarly here also, but if you take infrastructure as services, you can choose the operating system you wanted to have. Or if you take software as a service, no, you cannot go and tell to Gmail, okay, Gmail, save my data in a JSON format. Right? Of course, we don't have any control or any opportunity where I can go and guide Gmail how they have to store the data. Similarly, I cannot go and say, okay, Gmail, run the Gmail on some kind of operating system or some kind of application. No, I cannot say that. It's their decision. It is just that I create an account and then utilize that. So in this case also, in the category number two, it is just that they come and install the data center on our premises. So we will not have any control. Any control in the sense you cannot go and manage the hardware. The hardware and then the complications will be taken care by Microsoft Azure. In the private, of course, in all the contexts as well, even in public also, though it is in a public cloud computing platform, the complete responsibility lies with Microsoft Azure in this case, or that respective cloud computing platform. Okay, and the last one in the list is hybrid. Hybrid is simple. It is a combination of public and private, right? Public and private. Guys, now let me ask you a question. Please, again, make use of your chat window to answer this question. See, guys, take any company. See, you need not to have any knowledge on Azure for to answer this question. It's a pretty common question for everyone. See, let's take a company like since we all are Indians here, let's take Accenture, right? Take Accenture. See, for Accenture as a company, what kind of data do you think will be public? What kind of data do you think will be private? Maybe I'll repeat my question. For for company like Accenture, what kind of data will be public and what kind of data can be private? Okay, public is employee data. Okay. Which one we should prefer GCP tag or data about jobs, brochures, templates? Yes, yes, yep. Right. Right. So I would say private company internal matters. Okay, fine. And, okay, financial
Uh,
information is that's private. Yes. Salary is private, guys. Yes, correct. Project related info is private. Yes, perfect. And company services and offerings. Yes, someone have said it's a very good point. Right. So company info is private. Yes. Quarterly results is public. It's perfect. Yes. That's the right answer. Right. Thank you so much, guys, for contributing. Yes. So let me get on this. Right. So public data. Right. Oh, I still see people are responding. Yeah. Financial results or annual reports are public. Right. Right. Chalo. So let me get on here, guys. Right. Public. Yes, most of you have given the right answers. Thank you again, for collaborating, guys. Yes, please maintain the same momentum. Right. See, guys, someone have said, quarterly results of a company. That's the best financial results or annual reports. Yes. Multiple people have said that. Right. Yes, guys. See, maybe across the world, even in US or India also, because we have some people out of India also. See, guys, even in US, in India also, it is mandatory that companies have to release their results in public for every quarter. In India especially, every quarter they have to release. If they don't release before the deadline that is set by that particular organization, they will fine them, basically. They will fine them. Right? I know some of the companies which have not released their quarterly results on time, and of course, SEBI have fined them, basically, or that particular, I mean, the parent, or I mean, the entity which controls that, kind of sector, they typically fine them. Let's say if it is banking, someone SEBI will fine them. If it is, any financial related, someone else will find them. If it is, let's say, chemical sector, or let's say IT sector, some organization, so that will typically find them. But anyways, right? So they have to release it in public, right? Right, and also say the employees info. So when I say employees info, see, I cannot go and publish my complete employees information, on my website, right? Maybe I'll say, uh, maybe I can publish it in such a way. Okay, I have 1,000 employees in my organization, right? Only the number I can make it public, right? I cannot go and make my employee name, employee address, employee email address, employee mobile number as a public. No, no, no one will typically. See, unless their database is hacked. If the database is compromised or hacked, that's a different story. But generally, no company will typically, make that information public. But definitely, yes, they will say, yes, we have 1,000 employees. Maybe in the next quarter, we will hire another 100 employees, which is that we are going to increase our workforce for another 10%. Right? Such a kind of info they'll typically do it, right? And some projects they typically publicize, right? So maybe TCS, we all know, right? Passport in India, the passport project is completely maintained by TCS. Right? Income Tax of India website is completely maintained by Infosys. Right? So we know, right? Some projects are being maintained by these, particular, companies, and also the contract amount is also public. I don't know the number, but typically it is public. You can Google and then get it. How much government is paying to TCS for maintaining their passport seva. But you might not, get too much of details, but at least to some extent we'll know, right? But they cannot disclose all the projects, right? They cannot go and disclose, some of the projects, which they might have to run in some privacy, right? But some of them can be. Of course, salary is private. Yes, someone have mentioned, right? So what is the salary Shiva is getting in his current company, right? But of course, right? So they cannot go and publish it on their websites, right? The salaries, right? But the revenue of the company and the losses, the profits is generally typically they can, make it public. So now given that info, the data which we think for the project is private in nature, they can choose between these two. But is it mandatory that we have to use? That's optional, guys. That's optional. Nobody's going to force you to make use of, the private service model, because private service model is little expensive, and also, it needs extra efforts to maintain basically, right? So whichever, data we think, like, the number of projects that the company is running, the quarterly results, and all of them, can be public, and then they can aram say go and place it in public service models. So yes, but definitely, right? Even though while we are talking, public service models, see, as per me, more than 95% of the projects, I mean, all the accounts runs on public computing model only. See, the reason being, see, Microsoft especially spends $1 billion on security. Billion, I mean, not million, billion, right? See, guys, we might have come across news like, saying Uber data being compromised. And I'm not sure if you guys have come across. You can Google and then find it after the class. Uber data, gets compromised. You say Gmail, some of the Gmail data is also compromised, right? Tesla data, right? One of the top company, right? Tesla data is also compromised, right? But not all the data, some part of the database someone has hacked. And you take Facebook, you take any top company in the world, their data is compromised some other way or some other extent, basically. But can you go and check if Microsoft Azure data is being compromised? See, Azure is in the market from almost, uh, I would say 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 8, 9 years. But if you ask me, no, I have not come across any article saying or explaining how, Azure data is being compromised. See, if your username and password of your Microsoft Azure is leaked, no one can do anything, right? So compromise in the sense, maybe, maybe others cannot hack into the company servers and then get the data out from there, right? If you ask me, no, I have not come across any article explaining Azure data is being hacked, right? So such a, importance they provide, and then, they are investing heavily on, security. And most of you might be knowing Satya Nadella have, traveled to India, I think early this year or last month, right? He specifically mentioned how they are spending on the security. He typically, took about 1.5 minute and explaining, how they typically, cater security and how much importance they give, for security on their platforms, especially Microsoft issue, because, that's what leading in the market. I guess, that's about service models. But guys, we will be on public, but of course, we cannot have private or, hybrid. Yes, we'll be on public model. Okay, so now with that, I would like to, take questions. Yeah. So maybe you can raise your hands, or you can use the, typical chat window, and let me see if there are any questions. Else, I'll try to move to the next concept. No, I'll just wait for a minute and you can let me know, guys. Yes, please feel free. Might not be now, but whenever you think you have some question, please, try to raise it. And, I would like to, address them, maybe even after later also, right? Okay. Anyway, so okay, so let me check the chats. Okay. Oh, sorry, there is a question. Sorry, I didn't scroll down. This okay. So guys, for preparing the examination, right? So I've seen this question yesterday also, but sorry, because of the time I couldn't able to answer it. So guys, there are multiple examinations. So instead of taking data engineering examination first or the certification first, what I would recommend is to go by Azure Data Fundamentals. Guys, Azure Data Fundamentals, believe me, Azure Data Fundamentals will make a lot of sense for us. And will make really lot of sense for us basically because that give you very detailed understanding on how we typically manage data on Azure, right? But okay, I can see someone have is answering you have passed fundamentals. Then also make sure you have Azure fundamentals, right? If you are done with both of them, then get on to Azure Data Engineering. Right. So now if your question is, can I after the class, can I go ahead and then directly write the examination? Guys, please don't expect that way. Right. See, for certification, you need to do a lot of homework. Not only you, even I have to do, though I'm working on Azure Data Engineering from last 4 years. See, the way we work and then the topics that we get in the examinations might not be the same. Right? No, you cannot go directly from my classes and then go and attend the examination and then the pass. Right? Even if you ask me to take the examination on the live right away, I'll not pass. That's for sure because they try to touch base some of the topics which we generally don't touch. See, say for example, Cosmos, right? See, if you ask me, 99% of the projects on the earth will not use Cosmos. I repeat, they will not use Cosmos because I'm in data engineering, Azure data engineering from last 4 years, guys. I have 5 of my friends who are working in different organizations. Of course, they're across the globe. Some are in Ireland, some are in Europe, and then some are in US also. They have also not seen anyone working on Cosmos. I'm not saying 100%, 95%, but there are still 5% of the projects on the globe that might be running on Cosmos. In AZ 203 data engineering examination, they will cover Cosmos also. So that is something you have to go and then prepare on your own. But otherwise, yes, we do cover most of the topics that might be needed to be on the certification. Right? And more than that, see, I would love to, I would try and then cover the topics which might be needed for you to get the job. Right? So you see one example, right? See, let's say if there is an activity called for each loop, right? See, if you ask me in the real-time scenarios, for each is very famous, very popular, very important activity. You might not see any questions on for each in the examination. So it doesn't mean for each is useless. For each is very important. Even yesterday also, when I'm working on one of the requirement or a scenario, yes, there I have to use for each. Pretty common, pretty important context, guys. This is one example. There will be many examples like that, right? So they won't ask you about for each in the certificate. They won't ask you for each in the examination. But in real life, to get you salary, to get you job, for each is important, right? So that's of course, I have extended, I mean, I have added more information than what you might be expecting, but guys, that's my answer, right? We buy cloud storage on Google. What is that? Apple phone. So what is it? Okay, okay. See, guys, no, see, not every cloud is a cloud computing platform. See, guys, there is a difference between cloud computing platform and then the cloud, storage. See, in Microsoft Azure, you can store the data. You can retrieve the data. You can query the data, of course. You can update, delete it. You can perform ETLs. You can develop programming language. You can deploy it, right? So if you have such experiences, only then you can consider it as cloud computing platform. See the Apple storage or Google Drive. Let's talk about Google Drive. See, can you query the data which is in the Google Drive? Can I go and say select star from my data? No, right? Can I go and then update one single record over there? No. Can I, perform a ETL on my Google Drive? No, absolutely. It is just a storage wherein I can go and place my file there. That's all. It's a just a placeholder where I can go and place my files. That's all. You cannot perform any operations on top of it, right? But here Microsoft Azure provides 200 and plus services. And this is what we have learned yesterday, 200 plus services, right? So here you can, develop a project, you can migrate a project into that platform and then so on, right? So that's a typical difference between the Apple storage or the, Google Drive or OneDrive or any other equivalent, services that you see, right? So let me take some other, so do we categorize as absolutely we categorize, right? So this is what, right? This is what now infrastructure as a service is one category, platform is one category, software is one category. See guys, one more interesting, actually I have missed. See here, we have also something called as data warehouse as a service. Guys, this is important and interesting also. Data warehouse as a service, which is coming recent days. And also, see there is one more service that is coming up, device as a service. See guys, device as a service. Let me give you this example. But of course, it uh, this is too early to talk about it, but definitely see, we were seeing robots around, right? So Tesla have released robot, and many Chinese companies were also come up, and then they were releasing many robots, right? So Tesla, if I talk about it, Tesla Optimus, right? Is it Tesla Optimus? Right? So let me showcase you. Yeah, Optimus robot. This is one example, guys. Of course, there are 100 other as well. See, Tesla Optimus. Of course, this is going to be in the production, sometime next year, right? According to, Musk is saying he will deploy it to the production this year and itself. But anyways, right? Leave that about. So how this is related to our device as a service? See, guys, let's say if you are a millionaire, assume you have $1 million, you cannot go and buy this Tesla Optimus, right? They will only give you on contract. That means they are going to provide this particular device only on a contract, which is called as device as a service, right? But this will completely run on the internet. It will always connect to the cloud. So that can be Microsoft Azure cloud or Google cloud or any other cloud platform, right? So that's why device as a service is also coming up in the future. Not only that, right? So there is a autonomous car also you have released, last year sometime, right? That also completely, works on device as a service model. You cannot, most likely you cannot go and, purchase it at least for now, basically, right? Still it is, getting mature. But especially with the Optimus, yes, definitely you cannot go and buy it, right? So that's where, device as a service is also popping up. So that can be from Microsoft or can be, other, technologies also, right? Maybe you might see Microsoft also building such a hardware and then selling in the future. We never know, right? Okay, so yes, that's how we categorize them. I hope, you got the answer for your question. Yeah. Someone is asking what is the full form of SAP? So how come you are asking SAP? So what you are going to do with that? Right? But anyways, right? So as per me, it is systems, applications, and products, right? So that's SAP. Of course, it's a German-based company. For each, can you repeat for each? See, guys, we are going to see for each with a very nice examples, right? See, just to give you some heads up, let's say if you wanted to load data from 100 different CSV files, right? So that's where we use for each. Okay, guys. So, and also there is some saying how much detail will go into each and every service. Guys, we'll go till till you become comfortable, guys. Right? So if you ask me to the, to the extent, yes, I'll be covering this subject it in such a way, it should help you to learn other things better, and then we'll be able to get onto the job. Right? So that's my agenda, but let's say, how easily you can catch up. That's also something, we have to consider. What is this question, Sai? Like AWS, Boto 3. I'm not sure what is this Boto 3. do we have anything to automate in Azure? First of all, I don't know what Boto is. Maybe you have to revise your question there. Yeah. Okay, guys. Any more? I still have 2 more minutes. Guys, many of you were sending me direct messages. Please use everyone in the meeting so that others also will know what I'm talking about and then what you are referring basically. Okay. Okay, guys. So if not, starting from tomorrow, we will be spending our time on Azure itself. See, the discussions that we made yesterday and today are common to any cloud computing platform. That can be Amazon, that can be Google or Alibaba. So basically, right? So this is pretty common and these are very important. Right? That is the reason why I have brought it into our day number 2, basically. Very, very, basic details also we have gone by. So now starting from tomorrow, we will shift our focus to only Azure, right? Only Azure basically. And as a first thing tomorrow, I will help you understand how we can create Azure account. So I have seen when I'm talking on the phone with many of you in the particular group, especially, I got a pretty common question saying that how we can have the account. I guess how we can have the account. So guys, that's something I am going to start tomorrow as a first thing. Of course, it is pretty much important. And like I've said, there are 3 varieties of, methods that we have or we can follow to create the account. But I'll give very brief, detail about it on tomorrow. But again, I advise not to create your accounts. Guys, I repeat, don't create your account. I'll let you know when is the right time to create the account, how to create it, and what approach you can follow. Right? So with that, I'll stop for the day, guys. And I don't see what shall.
Sorry, we are unable to message you in the chat. It's not allowing to do that. This is the first demo I am attending, okay, first class. So I just want to understand for the experienced person, let's take an example mine. I have 13 years of experience in different technology. So I want to switch it to Azure Data Engineer. So how I can show the experience and what support you will provide to get a confidence and get into the Azure Data Engineering.
See, since this is your day number 1, Ayub, see, I would request you to cover the session that we have gone by yesterday, right? So there I have given very brief about the services that we are going to cover. We are going to cover more than 12 Azure services which are needed for any Azure data engineer. See, I understand that you have 13 years of experience and even I carry the same 13 years of experience into data engineer, right? So as a data engineer, I can easily say, yes, those services are pretty much needed for anyone to gain confidence and then, work on Azure data engineering, projects or the subject basically. But what I would request guys, this can be a common question for everyone. I think most of you here are, out of, Azure platforms. I know. See guys, the only request I would say is dedicate some time for practice. Nothing beats that. Azure data engineering is very easy. Very easy. If I Google you, saying that Azure Data Engineering, you will get lakhs of pages, right? You will have content in available across the internet. It is easy to go by, but it is just that you need to dedicate some time for practice. If you can do it, nothing beats you, right? Not necessary that you need to have knowledge on Azure itself, just to understand Azure Data Engineering.
But is it not true that you should also be knowing PySpark, for cleaning of data in the cloud? I don't know what tools they're using, but whatever tools they're using, is it not true that you should be knowing PySpark and
I will be helping you understand, Swati. So this is what we have discussed. Of course, I think a similar question have been raised yesterday, right? So Swati, you were there yesterday. So if you remember, beside to the
I know you wanted it to be saved for future classes, but the thing is, if you can give a bird eye view on how everything is placed in a landscape, right? It kind of creates interest and confidence for a person who's trying to learn things as well, right? So
but
I was wondering if you can, kind of lay out the whole landscape, how it looks like in a project or in a company who is trying to implement Azure cloud services. Yeah, this was precisely what I was trying to ask yesterday, but I would really appreciate if you can do that.
See, definitely. See, but the point is, instead of doing that now, if we do it in the last, people can easily connect the dots. See, I understand, maybe you were, little confused, with the way that we went by. See, if I talk about Databricks now, no one will understand. It seems like you have some knowledge on PySpark, right? So we have people who don't know what is PySpark at all. So first I have to make them understand what is PySpark, and then I have to connect the dots, right? It will definitely confuse others, right? So if I go by all of the services during our tenure, and if I try to give you a very clear path, you guys can take it so easily. Believe me, it is very easy. So that's what I'm going to do in the end-to-end project discussion, right? So whatever services I have highlighted yesterday, what are all services you can use as a package, and why you have to learn, first of all, the 12 different services. Cannot you just learn 3 or 4 different services and go for a job, right? So first of all, why you have to learn 12 different services? So that's something to understand. That first you need to understand the functionality of the service. Only then you can understand it so easily, right? So, believe me, if I start discussing about it, 50% of the candidates from here will turn off their screens, right? I have experienced it, please. So if you are looking for detailed answer, then what I have explained to you, I'm sorry, you have to wait till end of the sessions.
Oh, okay. Shiva, before you are into the Azure, you are in which technology you have worked? I want to know the career path of yours.
Oh, that's a good question. So I've explained it yesterday, but again, that's pretty interesting point. So
Technology.
I started as a SQL developer, and then I got an opportunity to work on MSBI. I worked on SSIS, RSAS. Extensively, I've worked on SSAS, and then I worked on Power BI. Still today, I work on Power BI, and I use Snowflake as a data warehouse, and I use Azure services a lot. In my current project, I use Azure, Snowflake, SQL, Power BI, and SSIS also, by the way. SSIS, even from last 13 years, I'm using SSIS. And that's my favorite. So that's what I'm saying. If you guys are interested, I have pretty nice examples on SSIS. Just me flip through it basically. Oh, we are over the time. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe one more minute, just to answer the question raised by one of our friend here. But maybe some other day, I'll walk you through. Maybe not everyone will be interested to know about SSIS, but that's one of my favorite topic. Okay. So for my other batch, I also teach SSIS. Anyway, it is loading. I'll just take, maybe one more minute.
Yes, hello. We don't get this recording.
To get your recording, you have to talk to your point of contact, yes, and then they can arrange, this particular, recording.
And even this chat bit also, it's not for everyone. It's only for Azure trainer. So,
Oh, is it? Again, please have a word with your, point of contact. I can see people chatting with me. I'm not sure if they can restrict to some people. I'm not sure. Please talk to your point of contact on it. But I can see people are chatting with me. Okay. Anyways, for the person who have asked me, right, this is essays basically, right? So I have many different examples which I would love to, run through it if you guys are interested. Okay. Again, this is out of Azure Data Engineering, guys. But like I've said, right, I'm pretty much interested to discuss if anyone, comes forward and then ask me to,
These are
discuss it.
packages or jobs, Shiva?
Packages. These are packages. So jobs
Like
are some,
pipeline that you.
yeah, these are, say, of course, pipelines, the equivalent term in SSIS is packages. End of the day, these are, pipelines itself. Okay, guys. See, I don't want to confuse you with a lot of, information here. Maybe I'll walk you through sometime later. Guys, I'll stop here. Of course, we are 7 minutes over. Thank you so much, guys. And sorry for make late. Yes, nothing.
Could you stay back for a minute? I just want to have a picture.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you, guys. I'll catch you all tomorrow, same time. Guys, if you have any questions, please make a note of them. And again, like I've said, I would like to, answer those questions, and then we'll continue the class on tomorrow. Right? Thank you.